shocks yet, because I guess it's going to be a custom length back here, and they want actual measurements before they would make anything custom. So Boss 4x4s sent me some Bilsteins rear shocks that are extended, and I'll be running those temporarily until I can pick up, or I guess till like the 4 week or 5 weeks it takes to custom order and be delivered. So right now, just on the front, we'll be getting the 2.5 coilover Kings with remote reservoirs and adjusters. But yeah, I'm installing Atlas leaf springs. It's the plus 3-inch Expedition style packs. So I just carry all the extra weight of the rooftop tent, rear bumper with the swing out, jerry cans. I mean, that spare tire, 37-inch spare mud trains, Toyo Open Countries are, with the TRD wheels, are probably about 120 pounds total, so nothing's light on this truck in the rear at least. That's one of the major things I want to discuss when installing longer leaf packs or just lifting the rear in general is that, I don't know if you can see it's focusing there, but on the rear diff, the hosing, brake hosing goes up, and that's usually your shortest linkage. So once you start lifting, you should be picking up a bracket to lift it up a couple inches so it doesn't overextend the hoses and pull them. Here's just a $2 rubber hose for the rear diff breather going up to the tail lights and all that. So then you got the emergency brake lines, steel cable ones, that you should probably loosen. I'm going to remove this completely just in case, because I tend to flex the rear end quite a bit, so I don't want to risk tearing that. So it's better, I feel like, to leave loose and maybe zip tie, or maybe adjust this slack back a little bit right here, so there's not all this is too much hanging. But yeah, definitely make sure you get that. And the blue hose, if yours are wondering, is a ARB air locker. So it is drilled in the housing. It's an air hose tube, and it's just strapped back there. So, and without the spare tire back here, I mean, I can work on this truck without even lifting it up and sit under here. So much room. So now I'm going to be removing the front bolt of the leaf spring pack, and I've never undone this bolt before, so I've modified the truck quite a bit. I've pulled apart the whole leaf spring, added a leaf by Toytec, running by a coach builder, plus 3-inch shackle, but that never required me to pull this front end off. So this will be the first time, and it requires 19mm sockets to remove, so we'll go ahead and do that. And just kind of loosen this up first and keep the bolt in, then we'll begin to loosen the U-bolts and the rear shackle. And I'll probably go ahead and take the shackle off and just kind of re-grease everything so it's not all squeaky, so everything's kind of fresh and new. So 19mm to remove. So we got that loose, but it took a little beating. So 19mm wrench with a little bit of little metal behind it. It's able to loosen up from the back side. I kind of get a socket in there, so the nut's on the inside. And we're about to pull off this rear shackle, at least that connection. And this one's a 22mm, which is the same size as these U-bolts, which I just took the U-bolt stuff off. So that's loose, that's off, that's loose. I can just knock the bolts right out. I'm about to disconnect this rear shackle, lower one, and then once I get this leaf spring out, I'll just go ahead and remove the top bolt and remove the whole shackle and just kind of give it a little nice grease up. So I finally got the driver's side Atlas leaf spring in there, and from the Toytec AAL and the coach builder shackles, I've never had so much difficulty installing the rear. It's been difficult, it's been tough, but never this hard. I've always done it by myself too. So I got it in by myself. Whew. So pretty much biggest issue is these wires. I've unbolted all of them and pulled some of these cables out a little bit so I get the most extension, because these plus 3 inches are full droop is a lot longer than these stock leaf packs. So kind of 2 issues. One, to get it in, I had to like cantilever it. So what I had to do was, it actually a cantilever with that with this drive shaft. So what I do is put the jack on the passenger side and jack it up as high as possible, and that would actually push the driver's side down a little bit, and that would actually give me enough space where at least this I don't even know what you call it, the mounting point of the leaf pack was actually just touching the frame. So after that, jacking it up and then pushing my weight down on it, I was able to slide it in. And then that was another issue, it wouldn't just slide in. As you can see, I greased the fuck out of it to get it to go in, but I guess that sleeve that's in the mount is just slightly wider than the opening of these coach builder shackles. So I did some shaving. I tried to do some shaving and just try to grease the fuck out of it, and ended up just beating with the hammer, sliding in, and just using a metal rod to just line up the bolt and slide it all in. So now jacked it all up, and it actually compresses not too hard, so it's not bad. I was a little afraid it would be a lot more droop than I wanted, because I just wanted to add another like 1 inch of lift in the rear, since I'm removing the Toytec AAL leaf, which is about 1.5 inches. So this put me about another inch, 1.5 inches taller than my original setup. So now to the passenger side. Okay, so I just got done with the rear Atlas suspension leaf spring install. It's the plus 3 Atlas Expedition Pack leaf pack lift. So I just took numbers and just drove it around just now, and I guess some of the facts are that it raised the rear a little over 1 inch, like 1 1/8 inches. So it's perfect, exactly what I wanted. And I guess just checking all 4 corners, it actually lifted the front about 3/4 of an inch. So I actually made the truck more even and flat, because the front driver's side, it was drooping down the most, while everything else seemed pretty even. So I don't know if it was just the added leaf and the stock springs, it just made it all lopsided, but no, it's all fixed now. But I will have to say that just driving around my apartment complex and going over the speed bumps a little, it is like riding on clouds. Like, literally no joke, I've never felt anything like it before. I don't know why the added leaf would make it any rougher, why this would be smoother, but with this leaf pack, it literally felt like clouds. My rear end was just floating around. I'm really excited. Never felt anything like it, so I'm really excited to get it off-roading. Take this off-road. So I have it parked with the front facing out, because tomorrow morning I'll be ripping apart the front CV axles, tearing the inner CV boots, or outer CV boots were both ripped on both sides, splattering. Drove about 20,000 miles on them. And since I was going to replace the fronts with the 2.5 coilover by Kings with resis and adjusters, I thought I'd go ahead. I don't know if it's a little dark, but everything in here is black, just splattered everywhere. But gonna go ahead and just rip apart those CV axles, pull them out of the diff, change the front diff fluid, and just replace it with a SD headquarters. Had some CV boots for the Tundra that was out of a racing material that they use for racing trucks. They have them for the stock parts, so I thought I'd go ahead and purchase those. Like 3 times as much as normal boots, but I don't ever want to rip the diffs apart again. So hopefully this will do it. I'm sure I'll rip it, but So I'll be pulling that all apart tomorrow, and literally the front just bolts up the King shocks, but CV axles will be the main concern. I mean, I thought the rear was going to take like 2-3 hours, and I was going to maybe start tearing apart the front today. But I started around 12, and it's about 5:20 right now, so it took about 5 hours. Those Atlas were a lot. It drooped a lot. I got some measurements, and it actually drooped a lot further than a lot of the cables. Even I unbolted a lot of the brake lines and air hose lines, and the tire monitor, the tire speed monitors wires. They were still all taut, and this thing still had droop to go with it. So I just took some measurements as far as that droop goes to give to Boss 4x4 so they can send to King, so they can begin building my rear King reservoirs. So that's all for today. Man, we'll get back out here tomorrow. Hopefully I'll film some more. I know I didn't film the end too much. I was getting just want to make sure I finished today, so I get a little antsy. So